Hey guys, CJ here, and welcome back to an all-new recap and review of Civil War II Issue 0. Civil War II is, of course, an all-new comic event that's meant kind of to be a spiritual successor to the original Civil War, and that it'll be a conflict of heroes, but also more metaphorically, a conflict of ideals. This issue does a lot of the legwork in laying the groundwork for the event, setting up the major players and the central ideological conflict, and if anyone is interested in following the arc but maybe aren't up to date on all the goings-on around the supersized Marvel Universe, this issue is a must-read. But let's get down to our mini plotlines. The comic opens with She-Hulk, aka Jennifer Walters, a lawyer by trade, giving her closing arguments in defense of a former supervillain, the Jester, aka Jonathan Powers. She claims that Powers, without committing any actual crime, was entrapped and arrested by law enforcement merely for discussing his criminal past. Her defense of Powers is essentially that no one can be arrested merely for thought, and that the punishment cannot come before the crime. Kind of similar to one half of the ideology behind Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Ultimately, though, she would be unsuccessful, as Powers would be found guilty and then killed in jail very quickly, much to Walter's dismay, as she realizes that she herself is at odds with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Ultimates in the larger freedom versus security debate. The book then pivots to War Machine, U.S. Marines Colonel James Rhodes, who successfully subdues an uprising in Latveria, currently under U.S. protection until democratic elections can take place. He meets with the shadowy President of the United States, who appoints Rhodes as his Secretary of Defense as a start on the path to Rhodey one day becoming the President himself, he says. The story then shifts to Captain Marvel, aka Carol Danvers, leader of the Ultimates at their headquarters, the Triskelion. As a coordinator of various super teams, she's under a lot of stress and discusses with Doc Samson, a fellow hero and renowned psychiatrist, the pressures that she faces and the morality of the Ultimates attempting to stop threats before they happen, the other half of the Winter Soldier ideology, and kind of the opposite line of thinking as Walter's defense. Meanwhile, the Terrigen cloud sweeps over a college campus, cocooning two students, Michelle and Ulysses. When they emerge, Michelle is a demonic figure and attacks the crowd, while Ulysses' eyes turn red before he blacks out. When he awakes, he finds himself surrounded by flames in what looks to be a major city that's completely destroyed, and left wondering whether it was him that's responsible for that. So, lots of ground has been covered, and the book definitely whips around, jumping back and forth between multiple characters and locations in its effort to set up the events that are to come. In terms of pros and cons, I really liked the way that we got She-Hulk's moral perspective in the form of a legal argument. I thought that was very cleverly done by Bendis. I also actually really like the moral conflict this time around too. The freedom versus security debate is one that we've recently seen in films like Winter Soldier, as I've been bringing up throughout the review, and given current events, it's really timely in both the real world as well as the Marvel Universe. While I really dislike talking about art in reviews like this because art is so subjective, I really did love the style and feel of this book as well. Also, love the Doc Samson pull. Good to see the new universe has brought him back to life. The main problem with this issue is kind of the whipping around, but it's a necessary evil to set up what they've got to set up going into the event, I guess. The dialogue at times is a little rough as well, especially in that scene with the President and Rhodey. But by the end of this issue, I was also left wondering, where's Iron Man? I mean, he's supposedly the other ringleader in this big circus, but he's nowhere to be found. Overall, though, this was a solid issue, setting up and laying the groundwork for the events to come. Let me know what you guys thought of the comic in the comments section down below. Signing off, this is CJ, and I'll see you later today for the HNN.